Did you know that most startups don't fail because the idea is bad? They fail because they cannot survive. They run out of money, lose focus, or grow too fast without structure. So the real question is, how do you build a startup that can stand the test of time? And that's going to be our focus of conversation today. But before we dive into the conversation, my name is Victor Arki, and of course you're watching Tech Hub right here on Rapid Television. Now before we move further, let's get you up to speed with what's happening right now in the world of tech. Across Africa, startup funding is still recovering after a major slowdown between 2023 and 2024. According to reports from organizations like Partech, total funding dropped significantly, forcing startups to shift from growth at all costs to profitability and survival. In Nigeria, the conversation has changed. Startups are now focusing more on revenue, cost control, and long-term planning, especially with rising inflation and currency pressure affecting operations. And globally, big tech companies like Meta and Google are investing heavily in artificial intelligence, integrating AI into business tools, ads, and content systems. And this is opening new doors, but also increasing competition for smaller startups. In the music and creator economy, platforms like Spotify and TikTok continue to dominate fan engagement, but creators are now looking for more control, better earnings, and direct audience ownership. So the big takeaway in 2025 is clear. Startups are no longer judged by how fast they grow, but by how well they can survive, adapt, and make money over time. And that brings us to today's conversation. Today on Tech Hub, we are discussing building a sustainable startup. And joining me is someone who understands both the creative and business side of growth. He is Kenneth Godwin, popularly known as TEDY, a seasoned artist manager with deep experience working with talent and navigating the realities of building and managing long-term value. Today, Teddy is going to be joining us on the conversation. Teddy, welcome to Tech Hub. Let's begin with the basics, right? When you hear sustainable startup, what does that mean to you in practical terms?
Thank you. So for the sake of this conversation, for me personally, a meaningful startup is a startup that actually solves a problem. Startup nowadays, without really having a concrete problem they're solving, right. They just feel like they could just enter the market. It's just like you going into a meat market, a market that everybody sells meat, and then you are selling meat. You're not really solving a problem because everybody has solved that problem in that space where you are. Sure. And I know also a lot of startups can coexist, but at the same time, you want to have a startup where you are privileged to be among the first to solve that problem, so that you can really rely on being the first and being bankable, or solving a problem where nobody has really focused on. Even if it's in a niche, lots of startups there solving the problem. Go in there and find a problem that has not been solved in that niche, and then solve a problem. Wow. Most sustainable startup is really focusing on the problem, because most startups just focus on the tech and not minding, wait, this sophistication you're building, what does this mean exactly? If you can't explain in 2 lines what your startup is solving, right. Not the structure of the company and how you're doing it and how much team you have and all that is very important, don't get me wrong. But to explain to your audience is exactly what the problem we're solving. So yeah.
Wow. And that's beautiful to know, because when you talked about the setups and all of the sophistication, just very recently I was having a conversation with a young friend of mine, and she said something. She said, right now on the platform called X, you see many creators all taking pictures and just showing their workspace, and they're really not doing so much of the work in this time and era. Now, bringing your definition, I think that even makes more sense right now. But again, from what you've seen, why do you think many startups struggle to survive beyond the early stage?
Yeah, I think I think most of the times, startups don't know ideas that are scalable.
Okay.
Scalable in the sense that you start something and you don't see how it can go from 10 customers to 100 to 1,000. So and also I would say this, for every startup or for everything you're doing, whatever it is, even if it's a business, because now I think more so we're discussing about tech.
Yeah.
But start any business really, as long as you have a customer and you have people that can pay you to offer a service, you're a startup and you're solving a problem. So for any startup business, I feel most of the times they just see 10 customers, they just see 20. They don't know what scalability is. You're solving a problem where you don't have there is no grand audience. All you're solving is problem for within a specific geographical or numerical figure. Mm-hmm. But I think most startups, and that's why your question says what stops most startups, because most startups, you start and you want to scale. You want to build a startup, you have to scale to more people. So most startups that don't scale are startups that not enough people are suffering or are going through this, or you have a team where you don't have a team of people that can scale your business. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, about it, everything can be scaled. If you open a Fanta cocktail business today, it can be scaled, right? Mostly, but I think it boils down now to the team of people you're having, the people you build your startup with, having a scalable mindset for you to be able to take your startup from 1 customer to 10, from 10 to 50, from 50 to 100, 100 to 1,000. If you don't see that you're building a startup just also for scalability, you just think that you're building a business, then you'll be stuck at the phase where you are and not having to see how you can scale. So I think what really crumbles startups now is not having a scalable team mindset. Look, guys, we are building a startup. We know that we're a startup, but look, about what are our MVPs, what are the things that we can implement that we feel like is going to scale this startup to 1,000 customers, 100. So you have to start having those conversations at the beginning of the startup. Some startups just say, do you know what, let's just start, just put the push, let's just start, But I think conversations that I personally have with my team is, even at the beginning of when we are at idea phase, I was already thinking of how 1 million people can use this platform, or it can be used in Germany, it can be used in Australia, it can be used in. So these are the things that as a founder, you have to start thinking about, even if you have a team of people that is more.
So basically, building. Yeah, basically scalability. When you talk about scalability, I also think of structure, and also think that these words can actually be used synonymously, to each other. Now, we've also seen that lots of young, tech startups actually lack that structure, and to an extent, we've seen that most of them also focuses on visibility and not having enough structure. My question again is, why is that even happening? Why is that so in this part of the world? Why do they focus more? Why does founders focus more on visibility and less on structure?
Okay, what I genuinely feel about this question is the way our initial education system is. Okay. We've not as Nigerians, we were not trained to survive or last a long term or stay on one thing and make sure that thing works a long time. We're very used to jumping to the next hustle. What is going to keep me alive tomorrow? What's going to put food on my table? What's going to keep you get what I mean? We are always for the next after meal. So, but I feel like most startups are not educated enough to. Most of us here, we are starting a startup because we want to hustle, we want to survive. We have So we're not really paying attention to, okay, what will happen in the next 5 years? What will happen in the next 6 years? We're not really paying attention to that. So we jump so many steps. And that's why when a startup gets to that third year and you see that there was no structure in the first registration, there was no trademarking, you didn't follow the basic steps to protect your startup, and you just did it as a hustle. Let's just build it, put food on our table. So I think that's one of the things that is that is not helping Nigerian startups. We don't have enough education, even if we have some tech programs now, which is very great. I think it's very cool that we now have like Tech Cabal. We now have like institutions that are really educating Nigerian startups on how to think long term, and not really think
short term.
They want to start. So yeah.
Let's talk money now, because we've talked about structure, we've talked about scalability. The next thing, of course, should also be profit as it is. How important is it for a startup to start making revenue early?
Yeah, revenue is different from profit, right? I say it's very, very important for a startup to make revenue as early as possible, even if they are not making. Now that's what scalability is. Most of these financiers for this startup, they want to see that even if you're not making profit, at least you're making some form of revenue. So that's when you need structure to. If you are making revenue and you are losing money every month, you are likely to make more money when exposed to more people. So you to build a startup that can make revenue. And that's the thing about problem. If you're not solving a direct or emotional problem or a service to people that need it, that's where the problem is. So if you have 10 people that would pay you for your service, for your startup, it means that you have probably exposed it to, let's say, 100 people. Or less people. And 1% of those 1,000 people is that 10, right? That are your customers. It means that if you expose it to a million people, then you have like 1,000 people as your customers, right? So it's very to have that, and which is going to also inform your financial structure behind on how to what to do when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to the kind of niche you want to market your services to. So yes, having your startup make revenue is very important. But when it comes to profit, it's not very important for your startup to make profit, even in the first year.
Why is that?
Because it's what I'm saying is not so important. Is because it is important because it shows that you are moving at a profitable rate. But for a start not to make profit doesn't mean for a startup to lose even in the first year doesn't mean they can't make profits. It means that just not having enough customers as they should to make profits. Not like they can't. So as much as possible, try to break even or even lose at least a little bit, because you can be sustainable by losing, even if it's 5 or 10% every month, you can still be sustainable because that data, carry your data and you move to funding, and you want to find a financer that can fund your startup. If you show a track record of 6 months where you're just losing 5% or 5 to 10% in that, they know that your startup could be profitable, and that's the first thing they see when they think about financing a startup. All they see is this. How is it that my $1 million would generate me $3 million in the next 5 years or in the next 3 years? These financiers are thinking when they want to bring out money to invest in startups. So if they see that you have a track record of revenue, not profit, they'll be able to know that coming to this, we can blow this out of proportion. We can blow this. So as much as possible, don't focus on profit as a startup. That's my personal advice. Focus on revenue. Focus on your startup generating some form of revenue.
Okay.
Because most startups,
Let's get it more clear right now. First of all, I think from what you're also saying now, losing is also part of winning, and if you put it out there. But let's do a quick differentiation between revenue and profit, just very quickly. Yeah.
yes. So that's just what I'm saying. For the first year as a startup, you have to have some form of revenue, even if you're not as profitable as you would want.
Okay.
You have to have some form of revenue. This actually even tells how where you're struggling. It's that data alone can tell a financial expert where you're struggling, how you're struggling, why you're struggling, and the things they can do to implement changes to start for you to start making profits. So yes, revenue is very important. Profit is important, but not a do or die for it. It's when you're now going 2 years, 3 years, your startup is not making profits, and then it's a problem.
Okay. Well, let's finalize the conversation talking about people right now. How critical is it to have the right team when building something sustainable?
But I can't stress this enough. I think this is the most important thing you can ever do as a startup. First 6 months to 1 year as a founder is the year where you have to get the right people. I say personally, I can't use any other person as example because building everybody on my team, I think, is way smarter than me, way knowledgeable than me in everything. So that's the duty of a founder. You have to get a team of people that are way, way, way knowledgeable and way, way smarter than you. Because at the end of the day, as a founder, except you are, because personally now, I don't write code.
Okay.
Right? Structural founder that is working on even if I understand what it is. So I have to get people that actually know the job very, very well. If I'm getting a front end person, I'm getting someone that is exceptionally good. If I'm getting a back end, I'm getting someone that's incredible and someone that believes. As a founder, you have to be able to first get your team member to believe in what you're founding or whatever the idea is. Once you get the people to believe in it, they will work on it as if it's their own. As a founder, don't hoard equity. If you see people that are good, bring them in, give them some equity, make sure that they believe in the startup, and that's what's going to help them along the line, because the startup is going to go to lows, and there's going to be a lot of emotional ups and downs in the whole circle or cycle of going from startup to establishment. So you have to have where they are very comfortable with those highs and lows, and making them comfortable with lows is bringing them into the structure of the startup, telling them the things they need to know for them to have that love for whatever you're building. So that's the first thing.
Let's talk finally on this, because earlier on when we talked about some of the things that we need, you talked about the fact that you need to be when you define building a sustainable startup, rather, you talked about the fact that you actually need to pinpoint a solution, that you actually want to bring into the industry. Now, when you founded Vybraa, what was the solution that you needed to bring into the industry?
Oh, the solution was, I noticed the difference between fans and their favorite artist. I looked at a problem that is being solved in the industry outside the country. I saw an app called Cameo. Do you know Cameo? CAMEAO, right?
Okay.
I looked at the app Cameo, and I found out that there was no African Afrobeat creative on Cameo. There was no movie African on Cameo. There's no Nigerian comedian on Cameo. So I figured that the Afrobeat industry in the Afrobeat industry or African music industry, we don't have a situation where a fan can have direct connection with the artist that they love. And when I talk about that, I mean real fans, because as a as an artist, you have, let's assume you have 2 million fans across your social media platforms, right? You would have at least 2 to 8% of them that are super fans that can buy your merch, that will buy your ticket, that will buy your CD, that can pay for you to come and sing at your wedding, that can, you get what I mean, that can pay you for a private engagement. But all we do have is management behind the art. Sometimes don't take those kinds of gigs because, I mean, the artist has to maintain a certain level of what I call it pride or exclusivity.
Okay.
You know, so I'm building a platform. If you want to have an artist merch, the first maybe artist like Davido, the first outfit he used when he sang the song Aye. Now we as Vybraa go to Davido, we collect that outfit and we auction it on the platform, and we have super fans bidding for it, or we have super fans, you know, those kinds of things. So we're creating kind of like
a connection
for Africa, where
all right,
where diaspora can connect with their favorite Afrobeat artists by just buy their merch, request for a private video. You can do a private show on Vybraa. You can sell your tickets on. It's a lot of problem that we are solving on Vybraa, and that's found really, you know, pay attention to, in my opinion. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Teddy, for your time. We do appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll talk again some other time. Right now, let's go on a break. When we'll come back, we'll give you the tech tip of the day. In a world where every swipe, click, or tap is shaping our future, technology is no longer a distant dream. It is the heartbeat of Africa and the world at large. From innovations to gadgets to startups and digital lifestyles, Tech Up with Victor takes you round. A show that makes technology simple, practical, and exciting for everyone. Join us every week on Rapid TV as we break down tech trends, spotlight African innovators, and connect Africa's digital story to the global stage. Tech Up with Victor, where innovation meets you. Now let's begin with the tech tip for today. Remember, cash flow is king. It is not about how much you raise, it is about how well you manage what you have. If money is not coming in consistently, your startup just might be at risk. Moving on to the how-to segment. Let's talk about how to build a sustainable startup. 1. Solve a real problem. Start small and test your idea. I'll take that again. Start small, test your idea. Focus on steady income. Control your spending. Build a strong, reliable team. Listen to your users, adjust, and improve constantly. Remember, sustainability is the real success, not just starting, but staying strong. Big thanks to Kenneth "TEDY" Godwin for sharing his insights with us on Tech Up today. And to you watching, build smart, grow steady, and think long term. My name is Victor RK, and this is Tech Up. Until next time, stay techy.